So George McPhee's in the news right now because expansion's on the way, and they're able to make trades. They're able to make trades right now, and he admitted that he had something cooking with Tim Murray, Buffalo, which is now in limbo because Tim Murray's out of a job. But I have a funny feeling that Buffalo had a deal worked out in principle, and they may have been debating about which draft pick was going to move. We've all been doing the expansion tool on Cap Friendly, expansion tools in general, and they're fun. It is a lot of fun to speculate on who's going to go in the expansion draft. The problem is, we're all wrong. We're all wrong. I'll use Vancouver as an example. So Lucas Bees is the obvious one, right? If Jim Benning sold on Lucas Biza as a member of the Canucks and wants to keep him in his cap hit. And again, this is just as a speculative. This is not 100% this is what would happen. But using him as an example, the Canucks could technically part ways with, say, a third-round draft pick. And in exchange, Vegas doesn't pick up Spiza. The other kind of contract offer that's out there for trade would be, I have this contract and I don't want it anymore. Can you take it? McPhee says, what's it worth to you? Going to be a lot of draft picks going to Vegas. I think, honestly, Vegas is going to be probably more active than previous expansion teams. San Jose, their activity was limited in that they were basically... how do I put this? There were two phases to the expansion with San Jose. We have to go back to the 70s on this. The Cleveland Barons merged with the Minnesota North Stars. So the Barons were absorbed by Minnesota, which is part of the reason why in the early 80s Minnesota was so good, because you take prospects from two organizations, you meld them together, a few of them are going to work out. When San Jose came into existence, there was a dispersal as well, where San Jose got to take players from the Minnesota organization, in essence becoming the new Cleveland Barons. So they were able to stock some of their roster and a lot of their farm using cast-offs, extras from the Minnesota North Stars. It was weird. Really weird. Tampa and Ottawa. Ottawa went young. Tampa went with experience. Tampa was the better team right off the bat. Long-term, if you're looking long-term as in 8 years down the road, you could say Tampa and Ottawa were close. Ottawa was a little better. And then, of course, there's still a Stanley Cup victory that Tampa has that Ottawa does not. So, but in terms of as expansion, with two teams coming in, deals may get made here and there, but in general, they didn't take anybody spectacular, and they didn't really get a lot in terms of draft picks. Nashville then comes in, Atlanta comes in. By the time Columbus and Minnesota come in, teams have shed so many players through expansion over the last decade that there were still deals being made, like so that they wouldn't take Nabokov was the obvious one, where San Jose was willing to part with players and prospects in order to make sure they kept Nabokov in the fold. Now we've got 17 years since the last expansion. Vegas is coming in where all these teams have got this nice depth built up. And Vegas can kind of put a wrench into that potentially with some of the players who have to be exposed. I'm looking at Pittsburgh here where they'd have to expose Matt Murray. Pittsburgh, I honestly think, is going to make a deal so that Fleury's protected and they keep Murray. And where it's going to work, and if they trade Fleury, I think it'll be after the expansion process, after the draft, and maybe in free agency. Maybe a team gets shut out in free agency. The free agent goaltenders go everywhere except Calgary's an example. So free agent goaltenders go everywhere. They don't go to Calgary. Calgary's looking for a guy, and Fleury ends up being the guy. Just using that as an example. But Vegas, I think, is going to be very active. I think they're going to pick up a lot of, I want to say, draft picks, prospects. McPhee's already said he wants young players, fast players, which is good because the game's fast. They're also going to have to be players that can play within a structure. He's already got the coach that is a player's coach, so they're going to want to play for him. It's Gerard Gallant. And there's definitely the semblance there of an organization that's going to be able to attract free agents. Shouldn't have a problem signing draft picks, whether they're KHL or NCAA bound, whatever they are. Vegas is going to be the land of opportunity for the next 3 to 4 years. You want to resurrect your career? Go play for the Golden Knights. It's happened with every expansion team, for the most part, where a player or players end up being there and they get that last shot and they have a bounce back season. That's more what I'm looking for with Vegas. So when people ask me the handicap whether Vegas is going to make the playoffs aren't the goal that first year. If it happens, great. If it doesn't, that's okay. McPhee is looking at the long term. And he has said today, and he's been saying the whole time, your long-term health as a franchise is based on your draft. You build through the draft. Your draft picks are going to drive your franchise. So I think he will get talked into picking up some bad contracts, because when he picks up that bad contract, he's going to get a really good draft pick or prospect with it as well. Teams are looking at protecting themselves. And they want as few surprises as possible in the middle of June when Vegas picks their 30 players. They want virtually no surprises. So, you know, because I've thought about doing another, like, work with the expansion tool on Cap Friendly and post my team, and then we can all post teams, but it is really hard to say what's going to happen because A, players can still move between now and when the expansion draft happens, and B, these deals are going to get made. I mean, Vegas, I don't think is going to come out publicly and say, well, Pittsburgh gave us their first-round draft pick in order to avoid Matt Murray. And for Pittsburgh, a first-round draft pick is an easy thing to part with to keep Matt Murray, because whoever you draft in the mid-20s, maybe 30th in the draft, maybe 31st, depending on how they do in the rest of the playoffs, you're likely not going to get a player who is Matt Murray. A goaltender who has the earmarks of a starter for the next 10 years for the Penguins if they play it right. So I guess we'll see. We'll see how this turns out. I'd be interested to know your thoughts. You guys can let me know what you think in the comments below. We are within 2 months of having a full Vegas roster. Fullish. I mean, again, until free agency and until all the pieces settle going into September, and honestly, there's going to be cases where a player is going to get a tryout for, say, Ottawa or Vancouver or wherever. They're going to get that tryout and they're not going to make it. And then Vegas is going to say, come on up and play for us. That's going to happen. So we'll see how that happens. We'll see who that happens with. And I'd be interested to know in the comments below, what kind of ransom do you think McPhee's going to look for? Remember, he's got to deal with these 30 GMs regularly. So he's not looking to rip anybody off. But he wants to make sure he's getting his value here. So I'd be interested to know what you guys think. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. And thank you very much for watching. I will be watching Washington-Pittsburgh tonight. I will be watching it very happily. I will also be switching back and forth between that and Ottawa and the Rangers, because I think both series are going to be a lot of fun. So this is really and truly the best time of year. But I also am trying to make sure I mix in videos regarding everybody else. Just let me know what you guys think, and thanks for watching.